Hey everyone, welcome back to another BRAP Basement Radio Arcade podcast. It is Wednesday, March the 20th, 2024. And look, it's actually great to be back. We took off last week, kind of a slow news week last week, so I figured, you know what, I'm going to take that Wednesday off, play some video games, play some more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I've only logged in about 26 hours or so, I think, of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So, but it's great to be back. Do me a quick favor. I'm going to drop a link here in the live chat. Please retweet the link or share the link on your favorite social media platform. And hit the like button. If you're new, subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. Now, do have with me a special guest. Before I introduce our guest this evening, the rest of the panel will be joining us here shortly, and do have some topics to discuss. We have some Xbox hardware related news in Europe, which is kind of interesting. It's interesting to look at those numbers that have come out of Europe recently, or actually recently 2 days ago. GameIndustry.biz is reporting on this about the European gaming market. And then Dragon's Dogma 2 reviews dropped today. That game releases, I believe it's this week, if I'm not mistaken. And then we have some Bungie related news that we'll talk at a later point here in the show. So, but I do want to introduce this guest. This is somebody who's been on the show before. Somebody I've known for a very long time, actually. Like it's wild when I think about it. He's somebody that one of the first people I think I met on gaming Twitter back in 2013. So 11 years. It's crazy how fast time flies. But we have with us Tim Dog. Tim, welcome back to BRAP, sir. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Good. Yeah, we've been back knowing each other for over 10 years now, right?
Isn't that crazy, Tim?
It blows my mind.
Yeah, it's like I was like, it's funny. Like, you're literally, and I every time you come on the show, I always say this. Like, you're one of the first people that I connected with on gaming Twitter, and I remember at the time you were known as Project Natal Fan.
Yeah.
And I remember you and I used to go back and forth with someone called Major Janos.
It was Sony backwards, but yes.
Yeah, Sony backwards, exactly. And oh man, I mean, what a time that was, And it was actually a time too, Tim. You probably remember this. Remember when developers actually used to interact with gamers on Twitter?
Yeah. It was something. It was pretty special at one point, Twitter, because it was like this little thing. I mean, like Aaron had like 3,000 followers. I remember Greenberg. When I first started following him, where it was, you had access to like all these people, and they would actually respond, and it was a good forum thing. And then obviously over the years it grew, and it became tougher and tougher. But in like 2014 area, forget it. It was all over the place. The developers and I've met people through the years. But yeah, it was pretty. It's definitely a different time. It was a lot more less trolly too. Like, you know what I mean? It was more conversational based.
No, it absolutely was. It was definitely more conversation based. Wasn't like the shit that we see today, where it's a lot of trolling, a lot of nonsense. I just think, honestly, Tim, I think the discourse around gaming on Twitter is just gotten worse, in my opinion. Like it's just bad. It wasn't like it was when you and I first connected all those years ago. There was like some really good dialogue there. I mean, sure, was there console warring and stuff? Yeah, there was. I mean, where just, yeah, go ahead.
No, it was like basically we only had, what did you have, 128 characters. There was no like videos. There was no GIFs. It was just like your one-liners in your conversation.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
And it made for a really nice, wholesome experience where, like, it wasn't just like, hey, are you engaged in farming, or what is this guy doing, or is he just trying to troll and to make a joke? It was actual industry, it was a higher level of definitely discussion on the gaming level.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. You know, and it's funny. I remember like you and I remember BGST, Big Gamer Small Talk,
Right.
with you, Crap, Mooch. And, like it's funny. That's how, even though Mooch and I had we didn't always get along, Mooch and I, which is funny. Like you probably remember those days, Tim.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, Crap and I didn't get along. I mean, Crap and I've had an interesting history. But it's funny, like you know, now it's like I'm on Crossfire with Mooch. Never thought that would happen. And it's funny, like Mooch and I, we both talk about all those years ago, and it's funny, like when we connected, when he had reached out to me. It's like, hey, Brad, I want to talk to you. And I remember the first time we had a conversation, I realized that actually we had more in common, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, we didn't agree. And we still don't agree with stuff. It's funny. Like,
right.
we still have, you know, back and forth like disagreements, but it's different now, you know, and it's, but BGST, I mean, I remember listening to that all the time. I mean, that was just that was kind of like the first, like big Xbox podcast, I think, back in the days.
Yeah, that was there wasn't really many podcasts, but that podcast was two things. It was kind of like, I wouldn't say over the top, but it was definitely edgy. Like we would joke around, and it would be like kind of like a bunch of guys at like a bar or something, and they would gather around. So, you know, we would have some funny things to say, but it also was like kind of like a spot where, at the time, Xbox didn't have many pro people in the media. A lot of it was during the DRM phase, so it was like popular to hate on Xbox. So there wasn't really that spot, and BGST filled that spot for Xbox fans that, you know, kind of wanted to hear positive Xbox news as opposed to negative. So it definitely was, you know, but it was also very good. You know, like I said, it had a lot of people on a worry wart. You know, it was, you know, Zaire started that all up, and you know, he was at the front. The first thing in social media I ever seen from video games, like, you know, then this stuff was Zaire and Blockbuster Critic, I believe. They were having some argument, and So The Way We Go. What was that now? Almost 10 years ago. It's 10 to 11 years of this stuff going on. How much it's changed is crazy.
Yeah, now there's like you know, there's like an Xbox podcast on every block now. It's like it's literally
every minute.
Yeah,
Like there's all types of time slots. People get offended if you start a new one in their time slots. Like, you know what I mean? Like it used to be like there was just BGST, and then there was this, and then now, like you said, now everyone has a podcast.
Yeah, it's so diluted now. It's crazy. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, like I mean, the media was hammering Xbox at the time because they had a pretty terrible launch. You know, with the Xbox One, and you're right. Like to an extent, Tim, you're absolutely right. Like you guys were providing a place where people could just talk about Xbox and get away from all the negative coverage that was happening at the time.
Right.
Yeah. So
and kind of flip it too on and be negative about Sony too. We would also go after Sony too. So it would be like a whole thing. But yeah, it was very popular. I remember. I mean, I've been on popular podcasts pretty much for the last 10 years, like from when they started. But like that, at that time, it was pretty crazy how popular it was, and it was controversial too. There were things that sometimes were said, and there would be a big thing, and be a Twitter war after it. But overall, it was just passionate Xbox guys, and you know, we wanted to have a voice, and we had a voice, and that's why I laugh. I see these guys like, "Oh, Tim, you're a sellout." I'm like,
geez,
dude,
man.
you've been on the scene since 2020, buddy. Like I've been here.
Yes.
I've been doing this and being on social media active even before Twitter, which I used to be on something called System Wars, where at the onset of like,
are you talking about
forums and everything.
GameSpot?
Yeah.
The System Wars forum, yes.
I've been doing this since 2007. So you know you're almost talking 20 years, and you know it is what it is of just 15 years of talking about Xbox, predicting the Xbox, being positive about Xbox, and obviously being a part of the community up until recently, where I'm like basically now excommunicated, but that's fine. We'll go into the stuff like that, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? It's ebbs and flows, and it's just crazy how much has changed from like 2007 to even 2015 to even now to where
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be in the next 6 years. Who knows?
Yeah, but what's interesting, Tim, is it's funny. Like you're like, yeah, you've been around only since 2020, and you're right. Like
Yeah.
you're one of the original Xbox influencers. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I mean, and for those who don't know, I mean, like I said, like when I met Tim, back in 2013, like, you were very much a pro Xbox fan, and an influencer, and you had connections with leadership at Xbox,
Yeah.
and like you were, and sometimes you feed the community information, and a
Yeah.
lot of people, I don't think a lot of people realize that. Like, it's like,
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Yeah, it's been a long type of thing, and I've always been pretty much. I remember when I first started like talking to like Xbox people, and they'd say, "Well, what were you drawn to Tim or whatever?" A lot of people said different things, but everyone used to say whatever for whatever reason. When I used to like retweet, it would get crazy amount of impressions. I've always
Yeah.
had that
I
where
remember
I've
that.
had
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
a lot of people, I use that to benefit other people. To be honest, I would promote people and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I've always had as they say, a large reach, and yeah, I've been doing this for years. Like it's just crazy. So that's why I laugh when I see somebody who's like telling me how to be an Xbox fan, and it's like I've been here since day one.
I know,
Socially,
Tim.
you know
Tim,
what I mean?
I laugh too, because I remember like when people say that, I'm like, I'm like, you guys don't know Tim. Like, stop. Like, like Tim was like, I remember coming here 2013. Tim was there like from the get go. Like, don't.
Yes.
Like, you're right. Like, some of these guys are just new, and it's just it's
Yeah.
funny. Like, and that's why I always bring up Major Llanos, because I remember like we used to go back and forth with him.
Yes.
Because at the time I was very pro. Very pro. I hate using the word pro, but I was my platform of choice at that time was Xbox, and I felt like
well,
the
you were
Xbox,
happy with some of the things they were doing with
yeah,
this. I remember.
I like the Connect. I like the the voice commands and being able to use my Xbox One
You
as
like the
my
games
central
too.
hub. Yeah, and the games, yeah.
They had games. It was just that everything else was, it was drawn out because of the DRM and the Xbox being people would say a underpowered piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like 720p. Like it was everything other than that. So I remember, yeah, you were for them for a little.
Yeah,
But
I was. I they had great
go ahead.
games in the beginning, man. Like, remember, like I always thought they had a better launch than the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But listen, I mean, that just shows you how long we've been in the game, and you know what I mean. Even you doing podcasts, you've been doing podcasts for a long time now. So like what, 7 years,
No,
8 years?
9 years now.
Wow. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. So it's funny. I'm looking at the chat here. It's funny, like, and this kind of ties into kind of what you and I were talking about, or have been talking about. Like someone's like this, Ricardo117 saying, I can't believe Tim Dogs is in a PlayStation podcast. It's funny that and I think this is part of the issue, Tim, when you're not like so pom and pro platform or pro a certain platform, they assume that you're just on the other side. It's like, no,
Yeah.
like we're like BRAP's always been a like, like
You're a person.
yeah, we play on everything, like
Yeah.
all the guys on the show, we, either some of us own Xboxes, others don't. Some of us only play on PC. Like I don't have an Xbox console, but I got back into Game Pass because of the showing that they had recently this year with the 4 games that are coming out later this year. But it's just kind of funny when I see that kind of stuff. Like if you're not pom-pomming a certain platform, that means you're on the other platform. It's like I see like someone saying Tim Dog switching to the dark side. It's just ridiculous. Like I mean, I get that stuff was around like 10 years ago, Tim, but like it's just weird that people get upset when you start being critical of a platform that Tim, look, no one's ever say that you didn't love Xbox. You know what I mean? Like,
right. I mean, I've defended Xbox, for years. I mean, years. And, I honestly, with the whole situation, I still feel that, if I had to do it over, I'd do it the same way because, there comes a certain time where not everything's going to be perfect. Not everything's going to be something that you have to be hyped about or a hype machine about it. There's some real things that you get into it. And the Xbox had that situation recently with them, saying 4 games to the third party, and like everyone is like, oh, it's only 4 games. Meanwhile, it was really 5. By their own admission, they say anything that's published by them is first party. So basically, they just released a game under the nose and didn't even acknowledge it. So yeah, there was some things that went on, things that I know about that, just I feel that they weren't fair to the fans. I don't think they communicated to the fans, and I still think there is a lack of actual communication or understanding from the fans' perspective because they haven't been communicated. Because, like,
hey, Tim Brooke, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I want to table what you're saying real quick. I just want to introduce Gaming Forte. Just join us. What's up, Forte?
Yeah, hola from Michigan, sir.
Forte, first of all, how have you been? I haven't talked to you in weeks.
Listen, man.
How are you? Are you okay?
Good.
You good? Okay.
I'm good, man. I just been playing games. People haven't been really doing that. But honestly, I've been doing a lot of working out. So
there you go, man.
For you.
The gym has been my best friend, and then
nice.
one of my friends, my assistant manager, she's into Pokemon Go, so we've been doing that a lot. So that's how I've been doing a lot of my walking and stuff. So it's like, what? Let me get back into it. So, man, I done dove deep into the game again now, man. I literally, I didn't turn my Xbox or my PC on to play anything in the last week until yesterday because Battlefield Season 7 started. So I jumped on for that. And then, but outside of that, man, just working and going to the gym and listening to all the crazy stuff that's been, or should I say, watching Twitter go ablaze like every 2 seconds for something that really doesn't matter. But it's good to be here, man. And shout out to Tim Dog, man. Tim Dog with MIA on Xbox on us, man.
Yeah, well,
you gone.
Well, that's why
I love you, Tim. People give you too much. People give you too much crap, man.
Yeah, they really do.
I appreciate you still.
Yeah, no, Tim, and that's why I wanted to have you on because, like I said, you and I have known each other for a very long time. And you're one of the OGs, as they say, and it's just it's interesting. Like you've been a staunch supporter of the platform. They pivot, and as a consumer, as you should, if you're not happy with what they're doing, you voice that, right? That's part of being a consumer. And they're like Tim, like you said, you and I have been doing this a long time, and like they're heading in a different direction. You and I probably have a perspective that I think a lot of people don't. I think about your comment when you said, "Oh, you've only been here since 2020." I think that's true in many cases. Where people haven't seen. Oh, we lost him.
He'll be back.
Oh no, he's actually he's. Here we go. Hold on. I think we're having some issues here.
Man,
Discord
has been crap.
We got Game Logic here. Tim, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Somehow it switched you back to the other channel.
I don't know. Well, I'm here.
Yeah, Game Logic, can you hear us? We got Game Logic here with us too.
Yep.
What's going on, Logic? Yeah. So Tim, what I was saying was, like we, given our history and, how far back, we've seen kind of the evolution of Xbox. You kind of have that perspective. We have that perspective that probably some people don't have. I was kind of joking around when you said, oh, like that person's only been around since 2020. I think there's some truth to that in many cases.
Yeah.
And so you see this change. We've seen this gradual change. We've seen the voice tracks change. And so, so you hear this, Tim, like you hear, oh, they're going to bring games, first party exclusive games to other platforms. When you hear that, what goes off in your mind? What do you start thinking? And what do you start hearing though? Because I'm sure you probably heard some things,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fed to them. It originally started where Shinobi, it was like fed to Shinobi, and he was like one of the first guys to get it. And then it trickled out to a bunch of other people. And then there was like this mole guy that he's responsible for basically when the Starfield information came out and all that stuff, and everyone started to run with hey, Xbox is going full third party. He was like involved, so it was definitely leaked, controlled leak by Xbox, and for like 4 months. So like there was that's what for me what was maybe trying was that I'm seeing them for the last 4 months just basically get destroyed in Europe. And like every set of numbers that comes out with that month during the holiday, I see even in Xbox in its own hometown selling for $349. It's not really selling the way it should be, in my opinion. Things are like that. So I see some negativity there, and then I see these reports, and I'm like, okay. First, it's going to be Hi-Fi Rush going to see Nintendo. Okay, I can deal with that. Then no, it's Hi-Fi Rush going to PlayStation and Sea of Thieves. Then I'm like, fuck, okay. And then Pentiment, and then then another game. So I'm getting to the point where I'm like thinking about all the things in the history of like what Xbox is kind of like done and changed, and kind of asked of its fans. I'm thinking about the PC thing and like going back to them, and in retrospect that was probably a mistake in my opinion. So I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, well, this is going to be a situation where I can't defend this. This isn't something where I got to draw a line. I wrote an email to Phil. Basically, he got back to me, and I knew just by his response that something was up, because it was very short, and usually he goes into things, and it was just like a short, like, oh, yeah, we hear you type thing. So I'm like, okay. I says, well, this is the deal. If they put Starfield on there and they put other games on there, to me, that's way too much. So the day of like this starts to come out, and then the next day I get I get like 6 messages from 6 different people that Starfield's going, and they're going full third party. And then what transpired after that was that really pissed me off, and then I thought about it, and then that's when I went off on Twitter. And then, you hear things like, oh, well, maybe they're not doing it. But the fact is that I think it's pretty clear that they're going third party. And like I was saying before, I think that there's still an expectation where I think a lot of Xbox fans think it's only going to be 4 games, or it's only going to be small games, and it's not going to be annoying them. But I don't think that's going to be the case, and I think that you already see plays best on Hi-Fi Rush with the adaptive controllers, better shadows, Sea of Thieves, this and that. There's things that are going to come out that are going to really upset Xbox fans. So that's basically when I went, I knew that there was no chance of us reverting this decision or reverting this course. But quite frankly, it just was like I just felt like that was just a really bad move. And then what else annoyed me too was the communication, and I still hold to that. I think the podcast was poorly communicated, and for them to even think that they were going to go into this and just drop a trailer without saying anything, with just having rumors and just drop a trailer based on what they saw in the response, like, and there wasn't going to be a bad response to this, and this is things that they've said, their own words, that said, we believe in exclusives, Starfield's exclusive, we're paying for Indiana Jones, we found out in court cases to be exclusive, so it just was a bit too much for me to take and for me to get behind. Now, if they had handled it differently, maybe I could try to get behind it, but I just in the end, and I've said this over and over, I just think that this move just cannibalizes your hardware and future for hardware. So I kind of always associated to Xbox with console, and that's what I like. Maybe a dinosaur, and that's getting outdated. I don't think anytime soon. I do think that maybe in the future, yeah, there might not be consoles or whatever, but I don't think that point's even close. And if Xbox is trying to accelerate that future, I'm not down with that, and that's why I've been so outspoken, and that's why I've held my position.
Yeah, Tim, it's interesting because again, I just think about the time that I've known you on social media, the times we've had you on this show, the conversations we've had in the past, and and how long you've been gaming. This idea of somehow exclusivity being a bad thing now, coming out of this, it's weird to me, and it's weird that people were upset at you for saying this, because you as a consumer were just voicing, hey, like I want exclusives. I want Xbox. I want Xbox to have exclusives. They've made good exclusives. Exclusivity is kind of the thing that gives a console its identity, and those games tend to be those games that typically perform the best and take advantage of the hardware, and you want those things as a consumer. I thought it was odd that people were like, no, you're wrong for that. Like, that's just weird. Like, were you kind of like, were you shocked by that? Like, people were like, oh, hey, Tim, you're wrong. Like, what are you doing?
Well, the thing is that what's funny to me is that a lot of people that are now basically cheering on, hey, it's third party, exclusives don't matter, and all this type of thing, are the same people that were in my DMs crying about how much they hate Xbox. There's new ideas and what they're doing with Xbox and how bad it is. Are the same people now switching their tune, trying to make it acceptable. That's basically what's going on here. Is that everyone does read the writing on the wall. The ones in the know that do know, yeah, they understand what's going on here. But now they have to paint a pretty story about it and say that, yeah, it doesn't matter. Everyone, there's going to be no exclusives anyway. So Xbox is just, fast forwarding this, and Tim, you just got to go with the flow. It's like, no, I don't. I want a console that I want a console maker that I'm backing, or as you could say, influencing for, to be on the same set of have the same mindset as me. And I don't like putting your games on PlayStation, putting Halo on PlayStation, putting Starfield on PlayStation. I mean, when those games start to hit, the reality is it's going to hit, and then people are going to get upset. I know what's going to happen here. But so, yeah, you do have people now changing up completely, and these are the people that were 2 years ago in my DM saying, if Xbox goes third party with Bethesda, I'm done. And this Tim Stewart guy, he's a piece of shit. You know what I mean? For saying that
Oh
all the
man.
things that he did, like for, suggesting that they do what they're doing now. So these are the same people that are now saying all this other stuff. And yeah, it is. Is it weird? It's 100% weird because we know what everyone has said, and this is a new thing. Like this new thing where the exclusives are gatekeeping and you don't need them, and that's not the case for PlayStation or Nintendo. You know what I mean? So just because Xbox is doing it doesn't mean that it's instantly right too. I mean, I think that they shot way too early on this. If they had to do this, and I'll explain if we have the time, that yeah, they probably have to do this. you know, if they have to do this, they first should have communicated it, and they shouldn't have. They should have had a plan with it. Maybe start a new generation in 2026. Then you do it, and you go about it a different way. With the way they're going about it, secretly, game by game, until everything, in my opinion, is going to become third party, is not the way to go about it. So there are things here too that I don't like the way they went about it. I do think that they are maybe forced into this position, but you have to explain that. You have to, not try to say and get everyone on board like, "Hey, who cares? Play your game where you want." Where no, I want to play Halo and associate Xbox to Halo. I don't want everything to be just associated everywhere else. I think that their exclusives matter. I think that this is like 101 video games. PlayStation has this belief, Nintendo has this belief, and they're going to continue with it. And this is not going to change anytime soon. Maybe 20 years, okay, but at this point, I think just Xbox shot way too early, and they hurt the brand. I really do think that you look at the comments. Sure, you do have a lot of Xbox, I guess, loyalists, if you want to say. But man, do you see a lot of people say the same thing? Like, I can't wait to play this on PlayStation. Please bring to PlayStation and all that type of stuff. And it's just going to be, I think, as Global wrote yesterday or 2 days, it's just going to be an ongoing thing that's not going to be fun to be around. And for me, I don't want to be somewhere where I'm cheering on something where I don't believe in it, or I think that it's just too much of a headache. And that's where it really got to the point where, when you talk about people in the community, the same people in the community that are glooming and dooming and telling me talk to Phil in DMs are the same dudes that are telling Tim's crazy now. He should,
Man.
should be behind. All games go everywhere. It's like, okay, you do you then. I said my.
Yeah.
I'm not changing the way I think about things for any corporation or anything. I'm going to believe in what I believe in, and that goes for even sports. Like there comes a point where, like the Giants had Dave Gettleman, and he was making all these horrible moves and signing all these players that sucked and was really hurting the organization. There comes a time where you say, "Hey, something's not right here. This isn't going right. I'm not going to back it. I'm not going to praise it." You know what I mean? So it's the same type of concept. It's not really personal. It's just, I put a lot of money and I put a lot of whatever you want energy into the Xbox brand. To see them go this route was very disheartening, and just the way it all went about really sucked because it was freaking 3 months coming, and the news kept getting worse, and the cries got louder, and then bam, it hits one day, and then now we're a month out, and there's just like this warped, there's no real battle cry for Xbox. It's like, hey, we're just all over the place, let's hope
Mhm.
Game Pass survives.
Hey, I want to go to Game Logic here real quick. Logic, you and I talked about. There was a question I think we were going to ask Tim, and I forgot. That's why I'm going to you. Something about the community's reaction. Oh shoot! Why is this escaping me? Like this idea that you can't be critical of Xbox, like you can only be positive about it. Like, did I get that correctly, Logic? Because I forgot. I know you and I talked about it earlier today.
Well, I just want to express to Tim, welcome to the team. I've been out here paving the way for you for the last 4 years. I'm glad to have some company, because my experience since I joined BRAP, and like I was never involved in this stuff before because I was never, like I never hung out on social media or in these circles, right? With this whole like YouTube, podcast, Twitter, gamer thing. We've had a podcast going for years, but we just never really we weren't part of the circle. Like we just weren't part of that dynamic. And since being on BRAP, my association with the brand goes back even further. And this is the thing that it's super frustrating for me because a person who's been around since 2020 is a babe to me. I work in software development. I predominantly worked in Windows for a very long time. And these guys on the podcast have heard it for a very long time, and I apologize. You're going to have to hear it again. But I lived through, tablet PC and Zune and the Microsoft Band and Windows Phone. Even bought a Surface Duo like a couple years ago to yet again have them do a Surface Duo 2, which wasn't that much of an improvement, and then drop the series again. So literally every and Surface Duo 2, those are 2020, 2022 phones. So I'm still doing it. I'm still buying Microsoft products on faith, right? And because of their appeal to me and my approach to technology. But I've also seen this pattern of behavior. I've seen, here's Windows Phone. All of a sudden, apps with better features, Microsoft apps with better features are coming out for Android and iOS. And we start asking, hey, what's going on? Why is Windows Phone not the priority? Oh, it's okay. We just, there are more customers over there. We just want to get them the new features first. Then we're going to trickle down, right? And then after it's all said and done, Elop is fired. All the Nokia engineers are let go, right? The whole thing is shut down. So particularly at this point in my life, after having been onboarded, and having been a Microsoft fan, and as much as I participated with them for, 30 years now or so, if I choose to be critical about Microsoft or Xbox, how dare you take offense at that? Right?
I know.
I've pissed in more seawater, right, than you've seen. And I broach no tolerance whatsoever for somebody who needs to get their panties in a twist because I'm complaining about Xbox or Microsoft because I know what they do. And I know that as much of the good things that they do, I can see them screwing up, right? And regardless, my point is, and this is really my point about the whole gaming conversation, and this is why I get frustrated, why we've gotten, so frustrated with, the gaming media and IGN and big influencers. I'm like, we're all consumers. And your job, your mandate, your imperative, if you're going to be any type of journalist or influencer or consumer advocate, is to advocate for all of the people in your regime who have concerns, right? And it's totally fair for you to say, hey, I don't think that the number of people who want split screen is really that big, right? But it's absolutely immoral, right, for you to claim nobody wants split screen. When you have stakeholders in your party who do want split screen, when you have parents who play games with their kids and want split screen, when you have older gamers who still like that feature and want split screen, they may not be huge, and you may have to tell them, and in fact, it's much more genuine for you to tell them, hey, you need to understand you're a very small part of the demographic. I get it. This is the thing that you want, but you just need to understand, right, from a business perspective, you are highly unlikely to get it, right? But it's absolutely criminal for you to say, for you to tell that person that they don't matter. And then when the community does that and the community behaves that way, then they don't understand why they're less than 10% of the console install base. Then they don't understand why so many people have defected from the Xbox camp over 2 generations, right? Tons of people defected after Xbox 360. Tons of people defected after PlayStation 4. Like, and then they don't get it. And then they act like, oh, what's going on? What's going on is, A, the brand isn't doing what people want the brand to do for them. But on top of that, those people who interact with you guys, right, are treated like crap. Like, who wants to be shoulder to shoulder with that?
I think you well said. You brought up a lot of points that you kind of. That's the way I feel now. Like, and it's excellent points. They've said things and done things. Like what hit me when you were talking about like the phone stuff. It's like, yeah, it's like that's kind of like the same thing. Like why these apps have more features on the Android and the iOS, and they don't want to answer questions like that. And then you see them just pull the plug on it and said that they should have never pulled the plug on the Windows Phone. See, I think the problem too with Microsoft now when it comes to the console is like they adapt the everything should get 40% margins, and the whole company is every division, LinkedIn or the cloud, they have to get 40% margins and all these things that are unrealistic to something as unique as the video game industry. And that's too a huge problem with Microsoft, is that quite frankly they have a guy in Satya that doesn't understand gaming on the level that we do, or the dynamics of this of everything that goes on. And then you have Phil who knows what he's talking about, but he has to sell that to get the vision that he wants to put forward, no matter how how much he really believes in that division. I kind of feel like, in 2017, knowing what I've known and what I was hearing, that Xbox was really in a bad position. They were planning on not even putting out a console. They were putting out the idea of using a Fire Stick as your new Xbox console and everything through the cloud, not go through, and they've had those conversations. But what Phil did was he pivoted. He sold Satya on Game Pass services, and then he sold Satya also on the cloud. So those years were good because everything was aligned. And then 2021 happens, and then the pandemic hits, and then now they're even seeing the console selling well. Everything's fine and dandy, and then this whole thing with Activision happens, and that really forces, I think, Satya to look at the Xbox in a different light especially after it gets approved. Like now it's you got $65 billion that you got to account for. We can't make any more mistakes here.
Yep.
So that's where I think then Phil said, okay, all right, well, I remember even Satya saying he wishes that everyone had no exclusives. Hey, let me pitch this to Satya and all this bad news that's coming in and all these numbers that are coming in that are horrible margins and starting to get looking real grim. Let's push out this Xbox to the screen, get rid of going third party, becoming a real big publisher, slim down publisher, having a plan, and then possibly even on top of that getting hardware greenlit, which supposedly has been greenlit, but in my opinion, I don't know how that's going to work out, but I think that was part of, again, of transitioning visions and ideas just to get the funding. So this is run way differently than Sony or Nintendo. It's run with a third party, which would be Satya funding the whole division, and that's where we are here, and that's why that's why everything has changed. If everything was copacetic before this, you wouldn't see this turnaround on all the wording that they said at the the round table, all that stuff would have been, they still would have been moving forward. But the reality is that they had a position, and that's what they did. But again, if you're going to do that, and like people from my former Microsoft people that have talked to me, you have to communicate that and just say, hey, be honest. I think if you're honest, you would get the best results, and that's where I feel too that there's not a lot of honesty there. And to be quite frankly, if you're thinking that Xbox is going to be honest to you, you have something else coming, because their bottom line is that they just want to survive or stay afloat. And I don't really feel that through the years, looking back at a lot of things, that they face adversity well. When adversity comes up, they kind of just either turn their back on it and try to shoo it away, or move on for it, instead of directly addressing it. And I think that's been going on for a long time, and that's the reason why when we all look at this picture and say, why the hell is this console dead now? And it looks to be in its sunset age way too early.
Yeah.
Why is all these things happening? And I think a lot of the stuff that we've detailed and talked about, Logic was bringing it up with all the things, that there's a real issue here. And if you're a consumer and you want to bring this stuff up and talk about it, why do you have to be attacked about it? And that's the thing. It's like,
thank you, Tim.
I don't understand. Yeah. I don't understand that. I quite frankly, and was surprised me, because I still get it to this day. Like people just rather me just be mindless and say, put on a cheer and say, hey, Phil's great. I played Phil on the weekend, and I could have took that route and just not gave a shit and said, hit up Phil whenever I wanted, play video games with him, and had that little inside thing going on that I've always had. Go to Xbox Fan Fest, go to all the parties, go to all the stuff, get free shit. I could have done all that. But you know what? Why? Fuck that. I'd rather speak my mind and say, you know what? Something's wrong here, and that's where I'm at.
Well, that's because a lot of people were told things over the years.
Forte, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I got to interrupt. I'm sorry. Nate Dogg just like, could you read my super chat? So I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I gotta pay the bills here. Nate Dogg with the $2 super chat says, Tim, will you come back to RDX if it returns?
Yeah, I would come back, but not a limited time. To be honest, BRAP has been on me just to come on, and I'm doing Mooch tomorrow, but I like my free time. I honestly, if anything, I'm going to be taking, breaks from just even the stuff. It's like, I think even Jez said, yesterday, like, let's just move on with it. And I kind of feel like at this point, that's where I'm getting. Like, I'm just going to get less and less, involved. To be honest, I mean, I'm looking forward to the games, obviously, and I love the developers. So I don't think that any of them should be, attached to this. So I mean, I'm looking forward to all those games Xbox has. Yeah. But as far as me being involved the way I was, I'd rather like Gaming Forte, go to the gym or something, pump iron.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Do something different for a little now.
Yeah,
try something new.
Yeah, we got one more super chat here from Face23 BKNY. $20 super chat. Thank you for that, Face. He says, Tim, do you think it's a mistake on Microsoft's part not to release a Pro console, giving the market to PS5 Pro by itself?
I think I'd say yes for one reason, and that's Grand Theft Auto. I do think that, I see a lot of people cheering that it's not going to be 60 frames per second. Kind of think that's kind of silly when that game could be look drastically better than it does on X. Where it has better ray tracing, it has it has more of a better resolution. It looks better, plays better. But overall, I don't know. I think the jury's still out on Pro. I think you have to have hard games to show it off. They might have gotten really lucky with GTA 6. What I'm really interested in seeing is what's going to happen with the Xbox in 2026. How that console is going to be. If I'm correct, and I think that they're going to go the enthusiast route, meaning they're going to only like target 25 million. You're going to have some super duper crazy Xbox console that's basically a PC, but it's an Xbox console, so it doesn't run the same OS. It's very powerful, and maybe they cut support for Series S. I don't know. There's going to be that's really going to be where I want to see where they're going next, because supposedly it has been green lit. And when that article that you saw Jez write in regards to the handheld, and I think he wrote it in January, that's at the time where it was greenlit. So I do think that there is greenlit hardware. So for Xbox, that remains to be seen. If they can pump out a console in 2026, that could definitely help them. But they got a serious problem right now with their current hardware. Basically signaling a sunset phase. When you said sunset phase, it means that all console generations have a start to peak to end, and when you hit a certain plateau and you start to crater, that's like, let's say you're way faster in your life expectancy for your console than I think ever before. Like and it's still cross generation games too that are going from Xbox One. That's what's so silly about this. But the numbers that they've had, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to stay on too much longer, but the numbers that they've had in Europe really are signaling that, and even in NPD where they're not so hot, they're getting outsold sizably in their home country. I think the Pro has a chance to. I think in the state, I think Xbox has something, whether it's the all digital thing that they were talking about. But they're in a real bad, hardware is in a real bad situation, and Sony, I think, is in a situation where they have one ace in the deck, and that is Grand Theft Auto 6. Especially if they get their marketing deal, they could actually market it. The best place to play is PS5 Pro, and that will, we know that game's going to sell bonkers. So that's pretty strong stuff. So I think they're in a pretty good position, but more or less, really on Xbox's side, their position is kind of dire and in a really bad position right now. Like I can't emphasize that enough, and I hate saying it, but it's like really bad.
Yeah, I hate saying it too, but what's going to change if Xbox does get a system out in 2026? Because now the only thing that will change is if they can find a way to detach themselves from, current hardware. Probably not the Series X, because I think that system has a lot left on it. But when it comes to the S, that's the thing that's really going to hold them back, even if they come out in 2026. I've been telling people for a while. I was like, listen, this generation's over for them when it comes to selling consoles. You know what? At a certain point, you just kind of got to look at it and be like, okay, what are you going to do to, mitigate that loss? Because you're not going to mitigate the loss of the console when it comes to the generation, but what are you going to do for the next thing if you're already greenlighting another system to come out, especially like you said, if they're going the enthusiast route and they're going to target that 25 to 30%, which is fine if that's the case, because, we already know consoles isn't really the number one selling point for them. It's, all the services that you can get around it. The console is just kind of servicing that for the people that want it. But I always look at it like, why would they come out? 2026 it's early, but I think they can make that happen if they already started working on it. It's more of a situation like, you have all of these studios, you have all of these different IPs that you can leverage, especially when it comes to the power narrative. Because if you come out with a system that is drastically better than a PS5 Pro in 2026, 2027. I'll say 2027 because I don't know if they'll get it in 2026.
Okay.
If
Fair.
they come out with a system that's drastically better than the PS5, the Pro in 2027, then your marketing can leverage the games that you have in your portfolio, just like you just talked about how Grand Theft Auto can leverage the power of the the PS5 Pro. You can talk because PlayStation probably more than likely isn't going to be ready to release a PS6 in 2027. They'll probably be looking at like 2028 at the earliest for them. I mean, that's all speculation, but let's just go off of that premise. Then you're using your power in the platform that you have with these IPs to say, hey, the next Call of Duty, best played on the Xbox, even though they're still going to be on PlayStation 5s and PlayStation 5 Pros, the next Call of Duty runs best on, the new Xbox. When you get around that time, you're going to start hearing about, Elder Scrolls 6, and you're going to be hearing about the new Fallout and all of these other games that's good, and Blade and everything like that. Yeah, even knowing that all these games are potentially going to other platforms, you can still play it better on this platform. Because I mean, you kind of got to look at the long game of it. And I understand people's frustration on it because I'm frustrated on it because I feel like they didn't let Xbox cook long enough with these new studios. Unfortunately, the thing happened in 2020. 2020 happened, 2021 happened. A lot of stuff happened that was out of the control of Xbox. And like you said, once Microsoft was willing to spend $7 billion to say, hey, we have to get you studios. So we're going to let you hire all these studios and we're going to let you purchase Bethesda and we're going to let you operate as normal because we know you need the help to do it because we didn't support you. But once they purchase Activision, that's a whole nother level of oversight. It's like we're spending $70 billion of our money. We're going to have a lot to say in this. So that's where a lot of stuff kind of went like completely awry for them when it comes to that. But I just feel like if they want to find a way to at least try to make a comeback in the console market, or at least to try to get the name of Xbox back out there, they kind of need to take the approach that they did in 2006 when they came out with the Xbox 360 before the PS3.
5.
Yeah, 2005. Yeah, 2005. You're right. Yeah, they need to revisit that strategy because guess what? Especially now that you have the ability to tote all of those first party titles, even if they are going to be on other platforms, you can tote them being best on your platform, and that's a lot of power right there. I don't know if they're going to be ready for it by that time, but that's like the only thing I can see them doing to kind of mitigate some of the loss they're going to have. But they're not going to change anything, in my opinion, over the next 2 to 3 years because they're just not going to have a system ready to even compete. Even if they started today, they wouldn't have a system ready to compete with if the PS5 specs are up to par. They're not going to be able to compete with that, right now.
So Forte, do you think?
Go ahead.
Do you think Rockstar is working on a version of Grand Theft Auto 6 that runs on the Series S?
They shouldn't be, but they probably are. And if they are, and but see, this is the thing. That's the other part of it too. No one really knows what this game's going. People get seeing 60 frames per second. I'm like, bro, that thing is still running on the Series S.
I mean,
unless Xbox dropped the thing and said, "Hey," unless Xbox dropped it and said, "Hey, this doesn't," because that's another thing too. If Xbox comes out and do what they did with the Xbox One and Xbox One S and stuff like that, and say, "Okay, we are not mandating developers to make games for the S and X," because as of right now, that's what the case is. You have to, if you're going to make a game on Xbox, you have to make on both. The whole dynamic changes if they drop the fact that you have to make a game on the S, because at that point, then you can leverage the console that actually has the power to do it, and then just tell people like, hey, if you have an S, you can still get the game. You could just only stream it at that point, which would piss off a lot of people.
Well,
but I think that would be a better, I think overall, a lot more people will be more happier with that decision than the one that we have right now, where the system you bought for $500 3 years ago is literally not even having a chance to showcase itself due to the games that's coming out because it's being held back from the other one.
And you know what comparisons are going to get drawn as soon as they abandon a console?
Oh yeah, easily.
Sega.
Oh yeah, easily.
Because Sega short fused the Saturn.
Whatever
Yeah,
they
easily.
do, whatever they do, it's going to be
Bad.
yeah, it's going to be. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed here or tears. Like I said, this is not going to be an easy process for them. I personally think that they should go the route that you just said, Forte. Possibly even dropping the S coverage, even though that's a bad move. It's a move that's going to generate a lot of negativity. Um, but they have to somehow make it where the console they still should not have abandoning the console market is not a smart thing not to do, not in this generation or in the next, I would say, 10 years. I mean, if you want to get rid of consoles, then just get out of there. But like, that's
True.
the thing. It's like I don't get it. Like, if you want to have a console, you have to. I was reading, and I'm gonna have to go, guys, 'cause I got to work tomorrow. But I was reading. Remember the parity clause in
Yep.
2014, and you know what Phil's statement was on that? Was that he wanted to make console gamers feel like first class citizens,
I
and
remember that.
that drew a lot of it was criticizing that and this. But hey, man, that I could get behind that because you're recognizing that there's a console that one exists, and two that you want to make people come to. Like, the whole thing is like, wherever you want to play, go play on a toaster. We don't care. That does not work. You have to give some love to your console. So if you're gonna have hardware, and in my opinion, if I was in Xbox position, Microsoft, and I was Satya, I'd say, Phil, you're not getting no more hardware. That honestly,
True.
if
Yeah.
I would be in that position, I would say no. But being that he does actually got this greenlit, show some love to the console, to the core gamers, to the whales that spend the most money on your platform. Show that they exist. Because for far too long, you acted like they don't matter. And you know what? Then you're complaining when you have a 7% share or whatever in Europe, or the crazy numbers that you've gotten. Like, it's gotten real bad, guys, and that's the reason why I am the way I am with this. This is not a good situation, and there is going to come a lot of possible, issues. Like, hey, do we drop the S? Because if you really look at it, the S is in a position where if you make the bottom denominator the Xbox Series X, you could do that for the next, I would say, 6-7 years with the amount of memory and the specs on it. It's a pretty powerful, lowest common denominator. But at the end of the day, they got to make some serious changes. And now if they're gonna have the hardware, maybe take this as a learning lesson. I think that it's a foregone conclusion that they're gonna go third party. So you're at least getting that portion where they're going third party now. You want to make the best place to play your games, the most powerful console in 2026. Well, hey, that's a start, in my opinion. At the end of the day, I want them to make hardware, but the latest go around, the probability that they succeed is I would say rather low. But I'll be there following it. But I just wanted to say thank you guys for having me.
No problem.
I'll be
Absolutely,
around.
Tim.
I'll be around when something pertinent comes around for a longer show. But I got to go to work tomorrow, and I got to get my sleep, and I got to hit the gym like Gaming Forte and make that my new hobby.
You gotta get those gains.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hey,
yes.
hey, Tim. No, seriously, thank you for coming on. Hey, please stay in touch, man. Definitely keep in touch.
I will. We'll always be talking. I'm always going to be on Twitter too. I do it for sport. I use it as my news, basically, and I like Twitter. But just like as far as like moaning and groaning about this stuff, I don't know if I could do it anymore. Just I don't know. I'm just every day there's always something a little. I'll retweet, but not going to be the old Tim Dog with the cheering and loving of Xbox. It's just not there. I can't be a fake person.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. And again, Tim, it's always a pleasure having you on, man. It's always fun. And like I say, it's always cool having you on too, because again, I always go back to you're one of the first individuals I actually connected with on gaming Twitter like 11 years ago. It's crazy. Here we are 11 years later, but always a pleasure, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, take care, Tim.
Take care.
All right.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
Just to piggyback on that part. Yeah, and you know, the thing I wanted to mention, and lots of people in the chat said it too, but like the other Achilles heel, right? The catch-22 is, as far as we know, like the Xbox One S is the predominant console in terms of the 27 million that they've sold.
Doesn't matter.
I know. I mean, look, I know what you mean. I'm just saying, but yeah, you got to fish or cut bait.
You got to. I mean, listen, people that went out. It's unfortunate if you went out and bought that system. You went out and bought that system because of the deal that it was, and you basically are subscribing to the digital ecosystem, and that digital ecosystem doesn't always mean it's going to be games that you can download.
Yeah, I mean, like I've made lots of decisions to do rewrites and I always advocate rip the Band-Aid off, make the pain fast, acute. It'll be over faster, and you'll evolve and reposition. But man, that's just such a huge thing to really contemplate, that they, you know, an option they have to consider, whether they choose it or not. They have to discuss it.
I just think they couldn't. The thing is, if they did do something like that, I don't think they could. And this is the thing, we're talking about Xbox being more transparent, and the first thing I'm going to tell you is some things probably don't need to be said when you're thinking them at that moment, because I think they should just come out and just say it. But I think
they should. I mean, Tim had it right. Their biggest problem, and why they've been torquing me off so much since 2022, has been the messaging, and it's so hilarious that Phil said in that October 2022 interview. I can't remember what podcast he was on. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't have anything behind my back. And I'm like, bro, you constantly have something behind your back.
Yeah, because he even said it. He was like, he said, I know people always scanning my background to see what I have back there, but I don't have anything on my back. But he always did, because he literally had a Series S sitting back there, and nobody knew it.
Yeah, but I mean, I also mean that there's always like things happen. You know, it's 2022. Here's the 12-month plan. January 2023. We're not going to talk about the fact that we told you you'd be playing these games in 12 months. We're just going to float a 2023 date for Forza Horizon on the screen and pretend like you're going to forget that we told you you'd be playing it in 12 months. We're going to claim that we're just not ready to talk about Starfield yet, but then 6 weeks after the showcase, we're going to delay it. And I'm like, you knew damn well when you did that showcase in January 2023 that you were delaying Starfield.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I would have had a lot more respect for you just being upfront about it, right? And that's the problem. And if they're going to do that with the Series S, or do something with the Series S, right, to control. I mean, and that whole discussion is really a topic of controlling the variability of the hardware targets that developers have to code for, in an effort to encourage them to code for those hardware targets, right? Because I tell you, if they are going to jumpstart, right, the next generation, the last thing that anybody wants to hear is that they have to code for the Gen 10 Xbox, the Xbox Series X, and the Xbox Series S.
I mean, because that's pretty much 2 generations back. If you
and I know it's, look at it. I know it's scale. I know the things that I say all the time. I know it's scalable. I know that they all run on DirectX, right? But the fact of the matter is that optimization is a significant amount of cost. It typically gets done at the end of the development cycle. You know, and oftentimes, right, it's like I said, it's a significant amount of that end game budget, and that squeezing things onto the Series S when you didn't necessarily constrain your design for that hardware target from get, and at the end you're making sacrifices and compromises. It's just not fun for developers.
I mean, the thing is, I didn't think it was a bad idea. I just think the actual No, it was a bad idea. It was a bad idea just for the fact that if they would have did what PlayStation did and kept it the same with the same system and just did a cheaper version without the disc drive, which looks like they're kind of doing with a newer version. If they're still doing a refresh of the X and they're doing a non-disc on it, I mean, that's something they probably should have did then. But I mean, I get it. They're trying. This is the thing. Microsoft's whole number one thing about Xbox is always about trying to find a way to get Windows and all this other stuff into your living room. And then it went down to, Xbox being the ecosystem, to be in the middle of your experience of the living room. That's where the whole TV came from and all that other stuff. So Xbox has always been trying to find a way to like stay in that place. And yes, having a $300 system, yeah, it's very appealing. But I said this on DPS last week, and gaming is a luxury thing. People may not think it is, but it is, and the people that it's real luxurious to are the people that own multiple platforms. But it still costs a nice amount of money to go out and still buy these systems, even if it comes up to just buying the system, buying the games, buying the $60, $70 controller that you got, and $100 headset, and Xbox Live and Game Pass. Just think of how much money it costs, even if you're a Series S owner. How much money it costs just for you to partake in this, in this industry with these games and stuff. So I just always looked at it as like a missed opportunity just to say, hey, let's just get rid of this albatross that's holding you back right now. And, and it's a lot of people that own that system, and I get it, but I also get the fact that being the person that has the X and never really seeing the fruits of the labor of that console due to decisions that are made, but rightfully so, because developers are going to skip out and they're going to code to that lowest denominator, and they're going to make it for the S, and it's not going to run as great or look as good as it can on the X, which also suffers on the PlayStation because that same game is probably going over to the PlayStation, but it just happens to be that they are running on a completely different setup, and they can make the games and operate and run a little bit better over there because they don't have to code for two different platforms. It's very, very it's interesting to see the dynamic of that, but I also know when you just look at it from the surface level, most people would just want to play great games, and I think that's what Xbox was trying to do, but they alienated a good portion of their higher end base. Because I always thought that PlayStation is mostly casual. We all know that's where most of their player base comes from. They swing the market on the casual base. Xbox, they have a lot of casuals too, but for the most part, it's a lot more. It feels like it's always been more hardcore people on Xbox because it's been that platform that has kind of persisted, throughout all of this stuff, still selling 50 million consoles in the worst generation that Xbox has ever had. And that just seemed like most of that was considered to be the hardcore fans. And they just alienated that completely over the course of the last 5 to 6 years with, Tim Dog speaking his truth right there.
I'm going to reiterate things that I said before. Often where I fall down with Xbox is from a strategic perspective. I actually think that a lot of their strategies are pointed in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And are sometimes the best choice that they can make given where they are. So quite honestly, I think making a low-cost console making the consumer make the choice, hey, at this price point of these consoles, I'm looking at a trade-off between the Nintendo Switch and a Series S, right? And what type of gamer am I, right? Ooh. And I think that was a reasonable right thing to take. And again, I even go back to Game Pass. Sure, maybe Game Pass has problems, but from a strategic perspective, I'm like, if you hadn't done Game Pass, you wouldn't be in the game at all, in my opinion. I mean, it was literally the fingers that you were hanging onto the cliff edge with were Game Pass, and that's what kept you, enabled you to get into the next generation, along with backwards compat, right, and some of these other kind of winning of hearts and minds things that they did in 2017, 18, and 19. So, I think that the Xbox Series S actually was a good thing. I mean, if they hadn't done the Series S, they wouldn't have as much market share as they have now. They'd be even lower. But the problem, I think, was, and this is where I constantly fall down with them, is strategically, yay, Execution, bad, right? And if you're going to do the Series S, then what you have to do is you have to manage the production pipeline and you have to put content there. And they've got 23 studios, now 33, 34, and they have delivered, in my opinion, they haven't delivered the content that they needed to this generation. I mean, if you're going to do the Series S and other developers are sketchy about putting forth the level of effort to get games on there, then you need to do it yourself. And you need to take those 23 studios that you were given, right, and have them do stuff and get you content. Even if I'm not a super huge fan of it, because I think like the market says it's not necessarily what they want, but even if you do AA and indie games, right, with those studios and you get stuff there, because at a certain point you just need to get volume there. And I'm not saying flood it with volume, with low content volume, but just flood it with volume of content that you can get done faster in a quicker turnaround.
Yeah, that's a great point. Excuse me, that's a great point, Logic. And regarding like the this is kind of a segue. We're talking about the hardware and everything.
Wait.
Yeah,
before you say that, before you say that, listen. If you're in this chat, you are not considered a casual gamer. Let's be for real here. Most casual people do not watch 2.5, 3 hour podcasts about people talking about stuff. So if you're taking that, I'm calling you casual. Yeah, I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking about the normal person that don't think about none of this stuff. And you gotta, that friend that asks you all the questions about gaming and stuff that you have to answer to and be like, yeah, man, you should buy this because of that. That's the person that we're talking about. We're not talking about you guys. We know you guys aren't the casual gays, but let's be for real. Like I'll stand on that. Xbox has always been more, not saying that I think there's more hardcore people on PlayStation just because the number of people that play on PlayStation is so much vastly higher. But I'm just saying of the percentage of people that play on Xbox and the percentage of people that play on PlayStation, the Xbox, most of its community is almost more hardcore than anything. That's why I think it's so much slack that people don't take from them, because it seems like the whole player base is crazy because everybody looks at Xbox like, what are these Xbox people talking about? Because it's just so many of them, but it's mostly just due to the fact that I believe it's a smaller subsection of a group of people compared to what the PlayStation group of people are. But if you're on this channel watching us talk about gaming, you're not a casual. You are right where you need to be at, sir and ma'am.
Thank you, Forte. So we're talking about the hardware struggles here. Something Tim brought up when he was on, and so we have some numbers coming out of Europe. And one of the things, and this is reported by GameIndustry.biz, Christopher Dring. By the way, if you're not following GameIndustry.biz, you should. If you're not visiting their website to get gaming news, you should. They are one of the last bastions. I say this almost weekly. One of the last bastions of great gaming journalism. And so the numbers coming out of Europe are really interesting. Look, all three main platforms posted sales drops in February. So this is year over year. PlayStation sales were down 2% year on year. Switch, which just Game Industry Biz highlights it, the Switch just turned 7 years old. I can't believe that. Is down 17%. Xbox Series S and X is down 47% year over year. They were down 32% last year in Europe. Now they're down 47%. So I think it's kind of something Tim talked about, that they're having issues selling hardware in Europe. I don't know what I know they're not, they're a little bit more competitive in North America and the US. But they're actually trending behind the Xbox One console now in units sold. So I mean, they're not selling a lot of hardware. They're not selling a lot of hardware right now, and
but it's okay, BRAP. Every screen is an Xbox.
Well, yes, that's what I've been told. But it's interesting. Like it's always the one thing. The one thing that when I always enjoy about when we have Tim on is that I go back to my conversations with Tim back in 2013. in the Xbox One, and I think he would agree with me. Like we never thought that Xbox would be in this place that it is today in terms of hardware. Like I fully expected them to be more competitive in hardware than this generation than they were last generation. They just seem to be trending backwards. It's interesting. It's just interesting to see how this is kind of all played out. Other things to note that came out of this report outside of hardware, excuse me. Helldivers 2 was the top selling game for the month of February. February. EA Sports, this was number 2. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth was 3. Grand Theft Auto 5 was 4. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 was 5. Red Dead Redemption 2 was 6. Hogwarts Legacy 7. It Takes Two is 8. And Skull and Bones is 9. And Need for Speed Heat was 10. Now, with regards to Helldivers 2, Helldivers is actually tracking. I just lost it. Hold on a sec here. Oh, so so Helldivers 2 is actually, after 4 weeks of sales, it's tracking 5% behind what Sony's previous blockbuster Spider-Man 2 managed to achieve, according to GameIndustry.biz. So kind of give you an idea of how well Helldivers 2 is doing right now. So
I haven't had a copy of that game since launch at the store.
Oh, really? Are you so Forte? I was going to ask you, are you getting a lot of people walking into the store asking you about? Okay,
probably at least 5 to 6 a day, every day. Some walking into the store like Helldivers. No, like literally, I have not had a copy of I take that back. I had 2 copies of Helldivers since the release of that game coming to the store.
Wow.
Wild. So I'm expecting those digital numbers to be ridiculous for those numbers that you just said, how it's tracking, because I'm just not seeing even in other stores or online. I just don't see copies of every website I go to. It's sold out. It's like you can't even buy it physically. You can only buy it digitally, it looks like, at this point.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. According to this report, 56% of its sales have come from PC. This is Europe. And the sales for the game increased 70% in its second week. And then over 3% in its third week. It slowed down, but only slightly, with a sales fall of 28% in week 4. As a comparison, most games drop in sales after 1 week, with falls between 60 and 80% being the norm. Oh, geez, that's crazy. That's crazy. So, Forte, are you guys going to get more copies in or no?
I mean, we'll get more. It's just that I don't know if it's weird with PlayStation, because PlayStation, okay, so the fact that they don't sell digital copies of games outside of their ecosystem. So like you can't walk into a GameStop, a Target, a Walmart, Best Buy, or even go on Amazon and buy digital codes. You have to buy currency cards, the PlayStation ones, the gift cards, in order to buy their games digitally anywhere. So it's just really interesting to see. Well, it's not interesting to see. It's very telling to see that they want people to buy the game predominantly on their platform. They don't, they really don't want people to buy the game physically anymore. I mean, that's not a secret. We can definitely tell that's been kind of the goal for them for a while. But it really looks like it's the case with this one, because you would think that it would be easy to get physical copies of a game that that's selling really well. But why would you make why would you make available a physical copy of the game for people to buy if you're going to sell it, at a 10 to 15% profit more by not having to deal with the retail side of it? So I mean, they did the same strategy. Think about it with all their hardware that they sold through PlayStation Direct when it first came out. The fact that the VR2 was not available in stores. I still haven't seen the plates in stores yet. I only seen them on PlayStation Direct Store. So you're really starting to see where PlayStation does. Even with the Portal was only available. They sell them other places now, but even then, that was something they only sold inside of their own four walls. So I'm starting to really see that with games, and I think that they probably just didn't make a lot because they didn't know how well it was going to sell. And I think they was like, okay, this is going to be one of those games that if it does sell, then it's going to probably sell even more better on digital. And we're not going to make a lot of physical copies of that game compared to something like Spider-Man or even God of War or something like that, where they know they're going to sell that game for eternity. As long as the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 is a thing, they're going to keep making copies of that because it's just one of those games that they're going to do it. But this game being an online game predominantly, because I have to tell people that it's like, can you play it single? I said, yeah, you can. I said, but it's way better to play with other people. So I think they're really leveraging that type of gameplay style for their friends to get them in. And instead of walking into the store to buy it, just buy it on your PlayStation. And that seems to be working for them really well by the numbers you're saying.
Yeah. Speaking of other video games that I wanted to ask you about, Forte, Dragon's Dogma 2 is coming out in 2 days. The reviews have been trickling in all day today, and it currently sits at an 87 Metacritic. Have you been getting a lot of calls, inquiries, people walking the store, pre-ordering this game?
Not a lot. I mean, when I say a lot, you got to kind of compare that to like stuff like Final Fantasy and stuff because, those are the games that like really move the needle. But I had a few, like I think earlier this week, I had a good influx of people coming in for Dragon's Dogma once the information started coming out about the game and everything. And a lot of people still doing their trade-ins because you get a little bit extra money when you trade in towards that game. So there's still a lot of people really, really interested in it. Nowhere near like something like, you think about other RPGs or dungeon crawlers and stuff like that. But the reviews on this game has actually definitely helped with just the overall appearance of the game being something that people want to try. But I do think a lot of people are being very, very hesitant on buying games now because I have seen a lot of people say, I'm just going to wait till it comes out to see what it's like. But the unfortunate thing about that is if you don't buy it day one or within that first week, especially these obscure titles, and yes, Dragon Dogma is considered an obscure title because it's not going to be a game that's going to be printed a lot, especially when it comes to like physical releases. It's going to be a good chance if this game does really well right out the gate that it's going to be just like Helldivers. You're not going to find copies of it for like the first couple of weeks.
Not Forte advocating for buying a game day one.
No, I don't buy games day one unless it's a game I know I won't. And there's some people, and guess what? There's some people that I literally came into the store and was like, yeah, I love the first one. I'm going to buy this one. And that's it. Like, if you want to contrast that with something like for myself, Bungie just had a new live stream yesterday and talked about some of the new stuff. And I was like, yep, wake me when Final Shape comes out. And I still haven't pre-ordered that yet because I don't know if I want it. They haven't sold it to me yet. So even I have gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm not wasting hundreds of dollars on games anymore just to buy them. You got to kind of entice me now to want to buy these certain games. And, I think that's what a lot of people are doing right now, because games are getting cheaper. They're becoming more expensive, but then you're asking more of us as gamers to basically buy these games and test them for you the day they come out and hope that they work good. So yeah, I'm not doing that no more.
Well, Forte, if the gaming industry would tell me more about why software development was so hard, I might be more sympathetic and be willing to pay for $70 games.
Well, guess what? Software development is hard, and I will never hold it against the developers. I will hold it against the publishers that want these games to come out like right now and don't care about how the developers look in the whole thing, because guess what? Gamers are kind of, never mind, I'm not gonna say that.
No, I was just making a joke, but yes, I've also coined the phrase that if you buy the day one version, you are buying the marketing team release of the game.
Yes, you are.
If you buy it about 2 months later, that is the development team's release of the game. They should actually be like two different versions.
Wait, so basically what you're saying is
two different branches.
So basically what you're saying, you're buying the sizzle reel that they put out for the launch trailer of the game. Yeah, because those sizzle reels be fire, bro.
Yeah.
No, the funny thing is, check this out. So I was playing Battlefield yesterday because the new season started, and they did a live stream, not a live stream. They did the trailer 3 days before that. Like a week before that, talking about everything in the new season. And I watched the trailer. You know how Battlefield trailers are. They got that music pumping and stuff. And I'm like, yo,
bro, they show people parachuting like out of planes, landing in other helicopters, right, and jumping in the pilot seat, and taking off.
I ain't gonna lie, they got me, bro. I was already gonna get the DLC because I was like, I can't wait for the new season. I jump in and I'm like, yo, I can't wait. And guess what? On Xbox, you can't even play the game hardly because you're crashing to the dashboard every match. I'm not
sure if you guys have been following it. That is the series. I mean, I just kind of rounded the corner on this the last couple days because I've been kind of mulling it over. But that is one of the series that I have like the least confidence in. So Ridgeline has been shut down. Larry Meadow, I think is his name, and the other co-founder left in January and February.
Sure did.
My understanding is Battlefield, and I saw this in a news story. It's not a rumor. That at least maybe the single player campaign. I'm not sure, whatever. But like the next version of Battlefield has been handed over to Criterion.
Yep, it sure has been.
And I'm like, and we talked about this on the last episode of Enough to Keep Going. I love Criterion as a studio. They have done some great iterations of they've done one great iteration of Need for Speed. And then they've done a couple like really good ones, and then they've done one really bad one. And my big problem with Criterion is that you never know which version of the studio is showing up. Some days they get there and they're the Kansas City Chiefs, and some days they get there and they're the Washington Commanders.
Whoa!
And you just don't know.
Whoa! Come on!
And you just don't know. And you just don't know which one you're getting. And like their bread and butter, where they came from, should have squarely put them in Need for Speed. But I feel like with Need for Speed, which I've been playing Need for Speed since Need for Speed 2. So like I think that they struggle sometimes with like getting their brains around like what is this game? Like what is the underlying ethos of Need for Speed? And sometimes they lock it. And then other times they just go off like squirreling into some trajectory and I don't get it. And so my concern is, these are the guys you're going to give Battlefield, and they've been working. They've been the vehicular team, and particularly the flight model team, on past iterations of Battlefield and Battlefront. Like, and I think that stuff they have on lock. But like, I worry that this is another Arcane Austin situation coming up where we've given it over to a studio that has never really like done like the first person shooter, battle arena kind of part of the project, and somehow they've gotten the vote of confidence. And I mean, and I'll just also say, I feel like the House of Zampella is like very shaky right now.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, because Marcus Leto, he left in February.
Right. And Chris whatever, the other co-founder, left in January.
So there's like a month after each other. So it's really interesting to being a person like, man, when you play that game, the game is so good. But I should have known that the glitz and the glamour got me. And then the game came out. They couldn't even play it half the first day. I was like, okay, here we go again. But yeah, so it's not showing any real confidence in the next Battlefield that comes out. But guess what? I'll probably still be there because I just love that franchise. But they're gonna sully the confidence and people. Just think about it like this. This is how far that franchise has fallen. As much as some people still love it, it was once a time where that game used to go head to head with Call of Duty. And it doesn't do that anymore. Right.
Yeah.
It used to be the thing that was like when it came out, because it didn't come out yearly like Call of Duty did. So when we got a new Battlefield game, it was like, yo, this is going to be the year, I think it was Battlefield 3, and whichever Call of Duty was, and then that was the year that they sandwiched it with Titanfall 2, and we was like, what the heck happened here? What happened here?
I mean, I think they had gotten some things right with Battlefield 1 and 5, and like you would have thought Battlefield 2042 would have like taken the best pieces of Battlefield 1 and the best pieces of Battlefield 5 and put them together, but it seems like they didn't do that. Like there used to be years when like Battlefront was always in Call of Duty's rear view mirror, right? And they were always looking at them over their shoulder. And I'm like, bro, that Call of Duty team, they don't think about the Battlefield team at all. They are not a threat to them. It's just weird.
Yeah, it is, but it's interesting when you think about it.
Yeah. Speaking of changes, did you guys see that Bungie has replaced? And this was kind of something that was discussed on social media quite a bit. Too. Yeah, Bungie replaces marathon director amid leadership shakeup and fears of more layoffs coming. Former Valorant game director Joe Ziegler is replacing Christopher Barrett. Ziegler actually tweeted out, "Hey everyone, fun update for the last 9 months. I've been working on marathon."
He's already been working it.
Yeah, he's been working for 9 months. Yeah, so yeah, we're still baking, but I'm excited to share with you more info on the game as we get closer and closer to bring it to all of you. So it's kind of interesting. Like, I don't look at this as an overly big deal. These are things that happen, but some of the reaction that I've been seeing on social media is one of, oh, this is Bungie's in trouble. This is proof that this is. That Bungie's the worst acquisition Sony's ever made. I think it's a little bit too early to draw those conclusions. I do think that this is, when you think about reorg and accountability, those are things that are going to come up, especially when you have a merger or acquisition and you have two companies that have joined together. And I've seen this in my own professional life. When the company that's acquired has a different set of KPIs, different set of metrics, those are good. That's the new standard. And sometimes that doesn't always bode well for the company that was acquired. And sometimes there's a butting of heads. Sometimes the leadership is removed so that the company that's acquired the other company can make sure they put people in place that will execute some of those things that they want to happen. So yeah, I think it's a little bit too premature to start writing off Bungie or saying that it's the worst acquisition to date by Sony. So, what do you think, Gaby Forte? Go ahead, man.
No, I don't think it's the worst. I do think that it is a situation where if they had to redo it, they probably wouldn't have, because they already proved that they're trying to I mean, they may have still done it, but I think their focus into live service being rolled back probably would have made them take more of a wait and see approach. Before they actually dove into that. They probably would have waited to see if they get like one or two of their games out to see how they performed on their own. And then if it did become a situation, then they may have pulled the trigger, something like this. But I also do think that there's a lot to be said about everything that is happening over at Bungie, because this isn't new information. Leadership over there has been the talk of the town for years at this point. Even when you go back to Activision, that was part of the reason that Activision and Bungie didn't get along, and how Bungie found themselves getting out of the deal with Activision, because timeline and tables, when it comes to like overall timetables and everything, that was all being missed. Activision really had to keep them on a strict schedule to make sure that they released those DLCs when they released them, because remember, there was no delays for any of that stuff when it was under Activision. But and I would arguably say some of the best DLC came while they were still under Activision. Whereas, go back to the assessment of Bungie from Microsoft, where they talked about the high burn rate of the company, how much money they're spending. And that same conversation came up again when Sony was doing assessments at the studio, and they were talking about how, the developers are very creative. Everybody has a mindset to get the job done. but the concept of, balancing a P&L is pretty much not the thing over there. It's like they burn through money like crazy, and that's why they miss forecasts or projections by so much money that they're missing them by, on top of DLC sales not being, where they should be, or where PlayStation or Sony feels like they should be at this point. So I do think there is a lot to be said there, but I also think it's not doom or gloom just yet, because I do think before that happens, Sony will go in there and clean house at the leadership level and just take over that studio and do what they need to do. Or even if they don't take it over, they just clean out that house and then appoint, well, I guess if they do that, they are appointing their own people at that point to foster whatever they want to do at that studio. Because I do think that they still have a lot to give when it comes to Marathon. They have their code game Bubblegum that's in development still. Destiny is still got a little bit of time left on it. No, it's still in development.
I thought there was a couple
I don't think
games.
they canceled it. It is some games that they canceled. They were working on like 3 games or something.
Yeah, I thought Bubblegum was one of them that got canceled.
Okay, maybe it was, because I haven't been paying as much attention to Bungie ever since I stopped playing the game as much as I was playing it. I used to pay all the attention to them, but yeah, they have a lot to still give. Even if that game's canceled, they still got Marathon that's foreseeably in the future, probably 2025. Well, they already said it's not 2024, so 2025, 2026. And I think it's going to be real interesting to see how Destiny finishes out after this foray of this season with all of the extra stuff that they're throwing into the game. But I wouldn't say it was a bad move or anything, but I do think there are some things that need to be corrected at that studio at the leadership level more than anything, because it's been talked about for almost the entirety of life that Destiny has been a thing, that the leadership has just not been that great over there.
I mean, well, let's get the first thing out of the way. Nobody gives a crap about an extraction shooter anyway. So that's number one.
Man. Come on.
Hey, facts.
I'm not interested. He ain't lying, because I'm not really. I was gonna try it because I like Bungie games, but it's not something that I was super excited for when they announced it. I was like,
that's just a really weird selection in genre, in my perspective. Yeah, now I'm forgetting what the other thing I was going to say. I got so distracted by making sure I threw shade at extraction shooters.
It'll throw shade back at some point.
Yeah, I don't know. You can go ahead, BRAP. I'll remember, I guess, hopefully in a second.
No, was it about the leadership changes? Is that where you're going?
I mean, you and I spoke earlier today. I mean, I think the one thing that now I remember what my other point was, but I'll get this one first. I think the one thing that that this shows evidence of, and I talked about it after watching the DICE Awards, and I mentioned what the developer said on stage, is that there is a governance system in place at PlayStation, right? There are periodic reviews, there are things that get funneled up for decision making, there's arbitration, right, before final adjudication, and so on and so forth. I mean, PlayStation has established, and we've seen this right in the articles and discussions about projects that have been killed. There is oversight, right? There's not. Look, I mean, I don't know what's going on at Xbox, but like the two data points that leap out at me are, Redfall has its development and comes out, and leadership at the top of the GLT acts like they didn't know it was going to be that bad. And Spencer comes on, during his mea culpa and says that, we're gonna review our processes. I'm like, I would have thought that processes would have been reviewed as we onboarded all these new studios over the last 5 or 6 years, and that a major quality escape like that would not be something that we would see, right? Not with the claim that leadership was unaware. The other thing that sticks out at me is the emails that came out during the hearings, where, I mean, to my recollection, it was like summer of 2022. I could be wrong, but summer of 2022, we see the email goes out that says, "Hey, I just looked at the roadmap and I see that we don't have anything going into the subscription service in the fall. Like, what is the plan?" And I'm like, dude, these are C-level officers that are making 6-figure salaries 3 and 4 times over. Right? Like that is not the type of email that I would expect to go out. I would expect for there to be periodic reviews looking at the roadmap in a rolling wave, right, over the next 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 15 months, 18 months, right? And this is all while we're teeing up for the showcase in summer of 2022, where we're going to make the claim that you're going to be playing all these games in 12 months. Like that appears to be a problem. So seeing that, which seems to be a lack of oversight in comparison to, hey, we're going to make these changes, we're going to tighten things up, right, and we're going to refocus the trajectory. That seems to me like actively participant management is actually taking place. Then the other thing that's weird to me with the reactions online is, when Totoki gave his talking points at the earnings call earlier this quarter, there was a ton of conversation about asserting that, what he said meant they were going day and date on PC. But here we are with these changes that are happening at Bungie, and the same group of people seem to have miraculously forgot that one of the big things he said during that call and in the wake thereafter was that A, we need to tighten our belts, right? B, gain operational efficiencies, improve margin, and then C, one of the biggest offenders is Bungie. So,
yes.
Does it surprise you at all that there are some changes and shuffles going on at Bungie?
I'm not surprised.
That shouldn't be a surprise.
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. I like Totoki, kind of calling out Bungie, and then look, I mean, these things tend to happen in mergers, acquisitions again. Like we bought you, and you're going to do, and your business is going to align to our business now. So
yeah, okay. And I mean, and in the wake of the layoffs in the December timeframe, I mean, there was the soundbite or discussion that was, hey, this is the framework of how Bungie is owned and how their corporate oversight happens, right? Which is a hybrid board between, I can't remember who the members are now, between Sony executives, but then predominantly Bungie executives. But there was a discussion that, hey, if financial performance doesn't correct itself and return to green, this is going to get changed, right? And it's going to become, right, a wholly administered, PlayStation corporation.
Yeah, no, exactly. Forte, any other thoughts before we move on to? I do want to talk about a certain video game that was showed off at GDC today. But any thoughts before we wrap up Bungie? You being the resident Bungie fan here.
Wishing Bungie all the best. We'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to how the final shape comes out, but let's be optimistic about this. I don't think it's a development thing. I always thought it was a leadership thing at that studio, and still make some really good stuff, but doesn't mean that it's led the right way. So let's just hope that everything turns out for the best for them.
All right. All right, GDC today at Epic's State of Unreal event. They showed off, or they gave us a first look at the new Marvel game from Skydance New Media, Amy Hennig's 1943 Rise of Hydra. I got to say, I like what they showed. I'm actually excited. Did you guys watch the trailer?
I did.
Yeah, what'd you think, Forte?
I actually really liked it a lot. I actually liked the fact that they it seems like when they're talking when they're at GDC, it's like they are very, very good at, they know who they're talking to, their community, and a lot of that stuff, kind of gets winced over, where people in our community don't really care. They wonder why things like that kind of happen, or why are they talking about this there. I think it was a perfect display, and the video looked amazing. I like. What did you think of it when you saw it?
Me or Gabe Logic?
You.
Oh, I thought it looked great. I was like, I'm in for this. I want to see more. Yeah, I thought it looked really good.
I don't think Logic seen it, because Logic didn't say, y'all Logic usually be the first one to be like, yeah, I saw it. It looked great.
Logic, I don't think Logic is excited for game trailers, if I'm not mistaken, right, Logic?
Not if they're CGI.
Yeah.
He's like slow-mo.
Oh, is he?
Well, he defends slow mo. So
Oh man, Logic. Do we lose Logic? Is he there?
I think he's gone.
Logic
He
left.
didn't take to my slander what I said. I knew he wasn't there then.
You didn't take the bait. Logic, are you gone? Are you there? Testing. All right, I think maybe Logic left, but no, I thought the trailer looked great. Amy Hennig's behind it, so Amy Hennig, for those who don't know, worked at Naughty Dog, worked on Legacy of Kain. Has a really good.
Is she doing Is she game director or is she lead story?
That's a great question. I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up. I'm not entirely sure.
Because she makes a mean story.
Okay.
I mean, she's been. I think the one time she had a chance to be game director, but wasn't she game director of the studio of the game at what was it, Visceral, before they closed it?
She was, yeah, she was. They were working on that Star Wars game. Remember
they're working on the Star Wars game. Yeah, so she was game director of that, and I think that was her first title as game director, and they never finished the game. So I'm very happy to see what she does because I was looking, especially being a Star Wars game, I was really looking forward to it. And then just marrying her storytelling that she did in Uncharted and Last of Us and stuff just was really, really cool. So I'm very excited to see what she does in that game director cheer when this game finally does release.
Yeah, me too. Now Hennig wasn't there. She wasn't in attendance to introduce the game. So I'm hoping that maybe we see more at Summer Games Fest this summer. The game is slated to release sometime in next year, 2025. We don't have an exact release date, but it did show 2025. So we'll see. We'll see if it makes that release date. Yeah. Yeah. Logic, are you back? Did we lose him?
Yeah, no, I'm here. I had to step away for a second.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good. Yeah. He didn't hear what I said.
No, he did not hear what you said then.
No, what was that, Forte?
It was slander.
Nothing.
Slander. Just slander.
Standard
Forte fare for the evening.
Yeah, I just telling you how much I was just talking about how much you and Slow-Mo are just alike. Oh yeah, he gets it. He knows what I'm talking about too.
No, actually, I know. I was just laughing at the comparison, but no. Why?
Yeah, because you defend Slow-Mo to the death, so you guys are almost alike.
No, Slow-Mo. Look, I've slandered two people who aren't here tonight. Slow-Mo is up on the extraction shooter from Bungie, I think, or at least the genre, and B loves Battlefield, so. I'm hoping the two of them don't listen to the show and get back at me when they come back.
They already listening to it.
That's too funny.
Already listening to it.
Yeah, so Lodge, we were discussing 1943 Rise of Hydra was revealed today at GDC. Did you watch the trailer?
I did not know.
Okay. Yeah, and I was saying, I told Forte, I was like, I don't think Game Logic really gets excited for trailers, like short trailers.
I do not.
Yes.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Code your game. Finish your game, test your game, put your game on a market, sell me your game for full price, up front, without anything hidden behind your back. And if your game lands, then I'll play it.
That's
fair.
I don't need your trailers and your sizzle reels and your CGI and your sleight of hand and
your sleight of hand.
Oh my I say that for the whole industry,
Yeah, not just this game. No, I get it. It still looks great. By the way, I'm looking forward to Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes. There was a news article today about Remedy Entertainment, their revenue being down, but that had to do with some of the development budget of Max Payne 1 and 2, the remakes. I cannot wait to play Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes.
Man, they're going to be so good, aren't they? They need to remake is Max Payne 3.
So have we talked about?
Yeah, go ahead.
Have we talked about the casting
for Max Payne?
No, for Marvel 1943.
No, we have not talked about
because that also came out today.
Oh, who's
really?
Let me look at that.
All right, it looks like Carrie Payton is Black Panther. So apparently he has been Cyborg. I'm not sure exactly what.
Interesting.
Oh, is this Ezekiel from The Walking Dead? I think this is Ezekiel from The Walking Dead.
I think it is. Yeah, Carrie Payton. Let's see here. Yeah, Walking Dead. That's him. Yep, that is him.
Yeah,
that is him.
Yeah, he was Cyborg Teen Titans. Let's see. He's done some other stuff. Blade and Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Killer Croc and Batman Arkham Underworld. God, he's been in a bunch of stuff. But yeah, that's him. Go ahead for Logic.
No. He's the only one. Yeah, he's the only name here that's jumping out at me as a known name.
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff in video games. He's been in Deus Ex, Siphon Filter, Mega Strain, Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay, Metal Gear Solid, Peace Walker, Infamous 2. I mean, yeah, he's been in a bunch of different games.
Yeah. I'll have to. None of these names and faces are jumping out at me except his. I'll have to go back and look all these guys up.
Yeah, he was actually in Walker, Texas Ranger. Do you remember that TV show? There we go.
I do remember that TV show. That was one of Grandma's favorites.
Yeah, Chuck Norris.
Along with them Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh man. So Ricky Bobby named his kid Walker in Texas Rangers. Oh my God, man.
That's interesting.
Yeah. All right. That's all I have for topics tonight, by the way. I'm all topicked out. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That is
free.
It. We're free, yeah. We had 2 hour show.
We're free.
We didn't go over. Kept everyone entertained, informed, hopefully. So
Whoa.
Oh, go ahead.
Do we talk about what everybody's playing?
Ooh, yeah, what are we playing?
No, actually we did not, but I'll go first. I'm playing one of the Game of the Year contenders, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm about 25 hours. I think I'm in Act 7 right now. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Really good game. And that's pretty much it. A little bit of Helldivers too when I can get some Helldivers 2 in, but mostly Final Fantasy.
You mean when you can get it on the servers?
Well, the servers aren't an issue anymore. Democracy's still waiting for you to join the fight.
I still see people complaining about servers.
I haven't been on in a week and a half, so I can't speak to that.
Oh shoot, he just called you on your BS.
When I was
it's like those servers still trad, they still Corel over there.
When I was on, I wasn't having any issues.
Yeah, I don't know how big they're. I've just seen some, like when the devs have announced, hey, all these new features are coming out or these bugs are fixed or whatever. I've just seen some people respond, hey, fixing the servers should also be a priority. But like I said, that's just word of mouth, not saying that's corroborated fact.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So Forte, what are you playing right now, man?
Still play Battlefield, Final Fantasy, chugging through that one. And I restarted my Mass Effect gameplay on PC, so that's what I've been doing.
All right, what about you, Logic?
I like that.
You play Mass Effect?
No. I like that choice though. No, I've been playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 on PC. I've been playing No Man's Sky on PC. I've been playing Metro Exodus on PC.
Good game.
And actually tonight I was playing. I was at my kid's swim practice. I was playing some Deep Rock Galactic on the Steam Deck LCD. Ooh, so yeah, I'm planning on getting back into that. I will say, the thing that always happens on the Steam Deck that always kind of sneaks up on me is, I pick the game I'm planning on playing. I have it in my queue. And and I'm thinking like something like Deep Rock Galactic. I'm like, man, this is not going to be fun to play on Steam Deck because already Deep Rock Galactic is a very dark game, so it just feels kind of like inherently claustrophobic. And I'm like, this is not going to play well on a small screen. And then I played it, and I was like, this actually feels really good. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely spend some more time this year with kind of living games that never end. So planning on definitely spending some more time and things like Deep Rock Galactic and No Man's Sky. I'm like Forte. I'm like I don't need to buy new games all the time.
Yeah.
Facts. Say it with your chest.
Yeah, I was thinking about today, Logic, as I was driving. I was thinking about the my time as a PC gamer earlier on in my life before I came back to PC gaming. And I just remember Sierra? Remember King's Quest?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, those were great games.
Yes, at the time. I would say, although I often rail about how like this perspective is weaponized in the gaming community, I would, in that case, I would say yes, they were games that appealed to 20, 30-year-old younger logic. Like, I don't know that those games would appeal to me today.
Oh, no. They wouldn't. They those aren't games that would appeal to me today either. But I mean, I was
remember Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah, who doesn't?
That is also from that era.
Yeah, exactly. We can't forget Leisure Suit Larry. And what was the other game? I was thinking about playing the first Wolfenstein. I remember playing that on PC.
Yeah.
So yeah, just some great. I don't know why I thought about that when I was driving. I was like thinking about all these games that I used to play on PC. King's Quest being one of them. I just remember the Sierra logo popping on your screen when you loaded up a game.
Nice.
Yeah. Just great memories. Just great gaming
Sierra
memories.
Interactive.
Yeah, great gaming memories. Yeah, didn't they do another King's Quest recently? Was that?
They did. They did like a remake or a remaster or something like that, like last year.
Okay.
I want to say I just saw like over the last few days, I just saw like Microprose, which is also a publisher from that era, like publish some like new game like fairly recently. So I mean, I know people have forgotten by now. Like Microprose was the publisher for Civ 2.
Okay.
But then they also published a lot of the Tom Clancy games that were simulations in that era. So like F-15 Strike Eagles, F-19 Stealth Fighter, M1 Tank Platoon, which is one of my favorites. They also did Masters of Orion. I mean, the original, one of the big 4X games, Masters of Orion 2. Actually published Sid Meier's Pirates, which is one of my favorite games of all time. But I just saw it the other day, they just recently published something, and I was like, these guys are still around. But I was like, oh man, if because we all know I'm a big, I love simulators. So, if Microprose were to get back into the game and bring back some, kind of really accurate and hardcore, military sims, that would be awesome. Actually, they published the original XCOM as well. I didn't realize that.
I didn't know that either. Did they? Interesting.
Yep.
Nice.
No, I feel old.
Yeah, you're still young at heart.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah, you're.
Yeah,
still
I was just a random thought that I had. I'm playing Monkey. Remember Monkey Island? That was another one.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone back and revisited those. Was that Tim Schafer? Those Tim Schafer games.
Was it? I don't remember.
Which, because he was at LucasArts.
It was Tim
or
Schafer.
Lucas Studios.
Right. Yeah, it was Tim Schafer. You're right. Yep.
And I didn't play those games like when they first came out. So, but I went back and went at them for a retro play, and I was like, these games are not as fun to me as it seemed like people went on and on and on about back in the late 90s, early 2000s, particularly Grim Fandango.
Well, yeah, Grim Fandango was that his when did that come out? That was what, 99?
Yeah, it may have been. I'll look it up.
I feel like I think Grim Fandango came out on PlayStation recently too. Like they did like a remaster or some kind of.
Yeah, I thought they did an update or whatever.
Yeah.
That was 1998.
Oh my God, was it really?
Yep.
Jeez.
Oh man, that's crazy.
That is crazy. I remember playing Wolfenstein 3D in 1992. That is wow.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, never mind. I'll tell you. I'll ask you after the show.
Oh, come on, man.
I don't want to turn this into no. I was gonna. I want to turn your our gaming podcast into something else.
Like what? Like what were you gonna turn into?
What else would we have talked about?
Oh, I don't know.
What, sports?
Sports?
Exactly.
Hey, you talking
so we got
the Commanders?
We had the tournament starting this week.
I was just going. Oh no, screw that. Who cares? NCAA, the women's tournament is more interesting than the men's tournament this year.
I will say this. Yeah, go ahead.
I almost want to watch Caitlin Clark go all the way in for Iowa this year. That I want to watch anything the NCAA men's have out there.
I didn't tell you. I don't know if I told you guys, but in a former life, I was an announcer for NCAA women's basketball games.
Let's go.
Courtside.
Let's go.
No, you weren't.
Let's go. I believe.
Yeah,
it.
I mean not on televised, like for my college team, like not like televised.
Yeah. Which college did you go to? Can you tell us?
Yeah, I'll tell you guys off here.
I think Logic went to an Ivy League school, so
he went to an Ivy. He went to Yale. Got it.
Yeah, he was a Yale man.
I was gonna ask you
Harvard.
Harvard. No, I went to Cambridge.
I went with
Cambridge.
What was the wrestler's name? Nowitzki.
He went to Harvard.
Supposedly from the ruthless aggression era. Yeah.
I got a question. What do you think? So, what do you think? Martin Mayhem was he a better player or is he a better GM when he was with Washington?
I think he's a better player.
How you feeling about these moves?
Actually, I don't think the moves are bad. Some of their free agent signings not bad at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I think some of those free agent signings might give us some insight, maybe into positions they may draft. You know, like they may draft.
I definitely agree with that.
They'll probably draft a middle inside linebacker. They'll have one of the best middle inside linebackers recently. To kind of mentor this individual they draft. So.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't have an issue. I mean, they didn't go bonkers with the cap. I mean, they still have a lot of cap room. I think they got the better of the deal with. Well, I mean, at least right now. I mean, if Sam Howell ends up being a decent starter, maybe Seattle did, but I think right now they got a good swap with picks there. They have 6 picks in the top 100 in the NFL draft. It's not a bad position to be in.
Would you have taken Justin Field if you knew it would only took a 6th round pick to get him?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I agree with that too.
It's a contract year for him.
He gonna be sitting on the bench this year behind Russell. Yeah. So
you got Marcus Mariota, who they get kind of cheaper.
Let's go
on the cheap, kind of compared to. Yeah, I mean, you get Justin Fields for a year, but then. Then if you want to sign him, then you gotta sign a bigger. He's gonna want a bigger contract, probably.
That's true.
But yeah, I don't think that's bad. I mean, I think they probably draft. Yeah, well, maybe they'll probably try to trade up. They'll probably try to grab maybe like a JJ McCarthy or something.
Woo! Let's go.
Or maybe a Bo Nix. They might roll the dice on a Bo Nix.
Hey, listen, I'm telling you right now. Y'all think I was a flip-flopper before? Listen, I will, whatever team, it's not even going to be flip-flopping because I'm a Patriot fan through and through, and I just happen to live in Detroit, so I got to root for the Lions too. But whatever team, I'm telling you now on this show, whatever team drafts JJ McCarthy, I will be buying that jersey, and I will be rooting. I won't be rooting for them to win the Super Bowl, but I will be rooting for that kid because I think that kid is freaking incredible. Not only because he won my team a natty year.
You are a flip-flopper.
No, I'm just telling people right now. I root for my hometown people. See, listen, Michigan isn't the Lions for me. It's always been about Michigan football. So I always root for Michigan quarterbacks.
Their coach just got suspended.
For drunk driving.
Yep.
He ain't going to be with the team too much longer.
Oh, man. That they just got, I mean, like, how are they out of a head coach again, potentially?
Well, he ain't the head. No, it ain't the head coach. It's the defensive line coach.
I thought he was the head coach.
No, it's not Sharon Moore.
All right, never mind.
No, it's what's his name? Greg Shrugs. He used to be. I think he was from. He was a player for the Ravens and stuff. But yeah, he got his 3rd DUI in 13 years. What are you doing, bro?
Might lay off the alcohol then.
Well, no, he gonna lay off and not get paid by Michigan after they gave him $773,000 on a contract. Well, guess what? If I get $733,000 on a year-to-year contract, I'm gonna pay for somebody to drive me to go get something to drink and drive me home.
Yeah.
freaking idiot, but that's okay. No, yeah, that's weird that you actually thought that. Maybe that's what's being portrayed out there.
No, I don't know. I saw something like Michigan coach or something. Maybe that's why.
No, yeah, it's the defensive line coach.
Okay.
He ain't gonna be there too much longer.
Yeah. Okay.
He's
All
probably
right,
already fired. We just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
Hey, just a quick reminder before we wrap up. Want to remind everybody that tonight is you've missed it already if you've been hanging out here, but you should go check out and scroll through at least and watch the GDC Choice Awards.
Oh, the Real Game Awards.
Yeah,
the Real Game Award. The one voted on by developers. Yeah, that's the Real Game Awards.
Yeah, for the people who complain and bellyache about the Keeleys.
The Keeleys.
You know, would it be great if we had a governing body? Anyhow, Forte, you have Forte, you have a show tomorrow. What time?
I do. 9 p.m. with the homie Slow-Mo Backslap. Mayhem feel better and be able to perform in the show tomorrow. And hopefully Game Logic can come through and give him a pep talk and, keep his energy up because, he loves him some Game Logic. But it's 9 p.m. tomorrow on his channel. Going to be a great time. And don't know what we're going to talk about because it ain't like anything really happened this week. Just like last week, it's been kind of dead in gaming other than just playing games. But for myself, Gaming Forte, YouTube and Twitter, or X as we call it. And follow me over there. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the games that you're playing. And get out there and do some exercising because it definitely makes you feel better. And go to sleep early. This is like the latest I've been up all week.
Yeah, sleep's very important. Sleep,
man,
sleep and exercise.
I love sleep.
How are you going to tell people to go to bed early in y'all podcast till like 1 o'clock in the morning?
No, listen. See, that's only during 1 day a week. That's why I'm happy that we got out of here early. Because guess what? I'm about to go to bed. I'm tired. Can I get up and go to the gym at depending on the day, like tomorrow? I'm not going tomorrow because I work tomorrow. But this morning, I woke up and went at 5 a.m. So I go at 5 a.m. on the days that I'm off, which was today and yesterday. And then I take Thursdays off. And then Friday, I take Thursday and Friday off because Thursday I don't go. Friday, I have the podcast Thursday night. So it's no way I'm going first thing in the morning on Friday. And then I go Saturday and Sunday. So those are my 4 days a week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, I go to the gym. And I go super early in the morning to get it out the way. And I used to think that was bad until I realized that, dude, you have so much energy if you go early in the day. Compared to if I went at night, I feel like I had too much energy and I would want to be up all night.
Oh yeah, I mean, I won't get into a big physiology talk tonight, but yeah, there's tons of reasons why they say you should, work out in the morning, before you burn fat more, in the morning, yada yada yada. Yeah. But I want to piggyback on what you said because I want to say I'm actually super pleased at what Tim mentioned and saying, hey, he's going to stop, get out of the console warring. Spend more time working out. Look, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and I'm not saying what I'm going to say to make anybody feel bad. But a few weeks ago, I posted just a reminder, right? A vast majority of the console war mess is done on Twitter by males over the age of 40 and a handful over the age of 50. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the shocker, and I hate to say it, but it's the reality. A lot of people aren't going to live but into their 60s. Like, we need to stop, right? We need to start thinking about, doing things and focusing on more positive things with the time that we have than worrying about console warring over plastic boxes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point, Logic.
That is really good. That's a really good point. And
yeah.
If you want a console war, be around to do it at 60. You'll outlive everybody else.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Shout out to you.
Yeah. All right. So Forte DPS tomorrow night, 9 p.m. on the DPS channel. And then who else's channel? Slow-Mo?
Slow-Mo's.
Okay, Slow-Mo then. All right, cool. Game Logic. I don't know if you want to be found, but if you do, let everyone know they can find you. People should be reading your
Yeah, they don't read your stuff enough.
Yeah, they need to read your stuff more.
Yeah, I know people would probably find it easier to read if I got a blue check mark. I'm just holding back from that a little bit because I don't know that people would read it more. But yeah, I mean, if you want to follow me on Twitter at GameLogic, same as it's spelled here. If you see me in the chat, you can check out my gamer Twitter op-eds. I do want to. I intend on maybe writing them with a little less slander in the future. I think the console wars are over. And I've said all that I need to say about people who are who have been disingenuine and are kind of preaching falsehoods. I think the last 2 months have kind of proven that out and provide all the tangible evidence that anybody needs about that. But on Sunday nights you can catch me on the Enough to Keep Going weekly games podcast on the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube, 8:45 p.m. EDT, and then Wednesday nights here. You can also catch me, if you follow my channel, Rounding Off Infinity, you can catch me periodically talking about games, where I do deep dives into the finance, technology, and history behind some of the news stories circulating around in the news cycle. But that show is totally at random. I've decided I'm not going to stress myself out by trying to do it like every Tuesday night or every Saturday morning or whatever. So if you don't want to keep up with when I go live doing it, you can always just pop by and watch the archive version. Please give it a like. Choose to subscribe to the channel so you can just get a notification whenever I post new content. But other than that, I'll be here.
All right, and big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening, and a big thank you to our guest Tim Dog for joining us as well. I will be on Crossfire tomorrow night, which goes live.
Crossfire.
Which goes live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Mooch's channel. And actually, Tim will be a guest on that show as well tomorrow. So I get to talk video games with Tim back-to-back nights. So should be a good show. But again, thank you, everyone. Please hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Helps out the channel. Appreciate the support. And if you're new, subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you are alerted when we go live. And if you want to give me a follow on X or Twitter, it's BRAP_podcast. So probably going to do another BRAP rant later in the week or this weekend, so keep an eye out for that. Until then, be safe.
Game on.
And game on. Yeah, that's right. Game on. We'll catch you next time.